Jade was on her way to school with her best friend Adam. Adam was driving them both to school since they have been living next door to each other since elementary, and they are in fact even best friends. And while they were driving, Adam asked her something. Jade, do you have any plans for the weekend? Yeah, actually, I'm going to the movies with Lily. Oh, that's great. By the way, do you have any plans after you finish high school? No, not really. I mean, I'm not going to college or anything, since neither me or Lily have any plans for that, or even our parents had even told us or even pressured us to even ask about it. Well, that's a good thing. What about you? Oh, no, I'm not going to college either. But I had to ask, are you going to tell your parents about you and Lily being dating and all? Well, that's the plan at least, to telling them after we finish high school. I just wish I could have told them earlier. Yeah, this kind of sucks that you can't even have done it. Jade had been dating a girl named Lily since the first year of high school, but they have been keeping it a secret since neither of their parents doesn't even accept this kind of lifestyle at all. Only ones from Jade's family who knows this is her older brother Derek and her grandparents. And for Lily's family, since she was the only child, the only ones from her family was her own grandparents. And that was the only support both Lily and Jade had. They had decided to keep it as a secret. In fact, when Lily was over at Jade's house, if her parents' home, they had to act as if just friends. And that was working perfect well. But they realized that maybe they had to keep it as a secret because they have no idea how neither families will even react. Even Jade was really worried about her brother at the time when she told him. At first, she didn't know if she could trust him with his secret. But to her luck and to her biggest relief, he did share the same acceptance. He had, in fact, accepted that his younger sister indeed had a girlfriend. She was happy to at least have one close member in a family that was such open-minded and supported. But since the graduation of high school was just around the corner, both Lily and Jade have wondered how or exactly when they will be revealing this. There were some times that they talked about maybe just on the day when they finish high school, or maybe sometimes after that they start working, and if they have found a place of their own, they could start telling their families. But when they arrived at school, Jay walked up to Lily, gave her a hug, and they actually hugged each other back, and they small talked, and they even talked about some of the plans for the weekend. And when the weekend came, they actually went to the movies as a couple, but in the opening, they had to keep it as if they were just friends. Afterwards, they just went to a small diner to just talk about the movie and all that stuff. But they really wish that they kind of just been simply open about their relationship to their families. But knowing for a fact how their parents are, it was not been anything they could have done. I really wish that we can just be open to our families about this. Every time when you came to my house or if I go to yours, that we had to keep it a secret. Yeah, I know what you mean, said Lily. It's a very disappointing. I mean, I thought maybe at least our families would have been such much open about this, at least accepted it. I mean, be living in a state of time of age of people had finally accepting this. Yeah, but at least there are some members in the families that do in fact accept this. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But you know, I just don't really not know how to even to embrace that my own parents are not such. If it was something we could do to, you know, to tell our parents to minimize the anger and all that stuff just to make them finally understand and accept our relationship. I know what you're meaning, said Lily, but you know that's impossible how they act right now. Yeah, I know. I just deep thinking about this. Yeah, but at least we maybe gonna be able to, you know, hoping that we might find a way to solve this, maybe without being having a yelling match between our families. Yeah, that might be true, said Jade. And as they left this diner and went home, even when Jade was laying in her bed, just looking at the ceiling, thinking in her mind, just if her parents finally could accept that people of the same gender could be with each other. Even at one point after this, when during dinner, when they saw on the news of a couple who actually got married of the same gender, when little Jade were about to ask her parents about their opinion about it, when her dad said, "How can they even do like that? They don't even think it's actually wrong in society these days. What is wrong with this society?" And her mom's like, I have always wondered myself. In fact, there are a couple of people at my workplace that are in fact the same like that. They're open about it, and I feel that's just not okay. And for that, Jade didn't even brought up the topic to her parents because she knew exactly what the reaction would be, so she said nothing about it. But as the time went on, it eventually the prom arrived. But since Jade and Lily had already made plans to go together as a couple, but in order to keep this secret, Jade had asked Adam to be her prom date, as her quote unquote prom date. And he knew exactly what she meant about it. So they actually went to the prom, and he was actually very happy to at least to be helping them. But at the prom, even though Jade and Lily had a prom date, but they were actually the prom date each other. But in order to maintain their secret, even Lily had a guy friend to act as her date. A few friends at the school knew about it, and they also had made a promise not to tell anyone except themselves about it. Not even family or other friends, because they didn't want to break the trust. So Lily and Jade enjoyed their prom date. They danced a few times with each other just for the fun of it, even though they thought it as a date, an actual date. But even during the prom, when Jade and Lily said, you know, despite this, I actually enjoyed this. Yeah, it's a really good time. Even though we had to maintain this secret, it started getting frustrated though. Yeah, but we had to maintain it a little bit longer. Just, can you try that? I know, but I will. It's just getting sometimes frustrated. I can't just telling my family about this, said Lily a bit angry. I know what you mean, and I felt the same thing. Even I told my brother Derek about this, but he told me to just maintain the secret just for the sake of us and not to anger our parents. I mean, whatever did they do find out even before we finished high school? Do you know what they do? Lily, Lily knew exactly what she meant. They would have been kicked out of the house. And since neither their grandparents even lived in their hometown, they didn't have anyone else to live with. What about her older brother Derek? Well, he lived in a different state, so it would have been impossible for her or even Lily to live with her older brother at the time. They could have lived with some of their close friends, but they realized that none of their friends' families would even allow them to stay for a long time. Maybe for only short term, but that's it. And since neither of them even had any part-time or full-time work, they didn't even have money to even rent a place. So that was another problem. So they had to maintain this a secret. Even they were starting getting frustrated with both of them. But in order to keep it a secret, a much a secret, they had to, for both of their sake. Then, the day when their final day came of high school was over. They were about to just have on the ceremony, and afterwards, they just stand by the school property, small talked, when suddenly, when Jade's family, her parents, walked up to her and said, "You are a disgrace to the family." That took Jade a much a big surprise, and even asked what her parents even meant. But her mom's like, with tears in her eyes, "How could you be dating a girl?" Jade was stunned how they even found out about it, since they were planning on telling her family soon enough, but she may wondered if Derek had told them. But she realized Derek, even though he is her older brother, he is not the type of person that would just simply break their promise and telling them. And Jade even asked how they found out. "We saw you kissing in public," said her mom. That made her stunned. At the same moment, as suddenly Lily was dragged away by her dad only for a short distance and have the same type of conversation, even though Jade could hear this in a distance. Jade's family was angry. Lily's family was angry. Both sides of parents were just yelling at their daughters, causing a huge scene at the school. But they didn't even seem to care of any of that because they wanted answers to why their own daughters had been lying and haven't been doing this for several years now. Since they have been dating for 4 years. But Jay said, "It's because of love." "Love? You can't call this love." "I'm telling you," her dad said, "if you don't break it off, you will not even be allowed to come home. So you have a choice here. Either leave that girl or you won't have any home anymore." But Jay stood her ground and said, "No, I'm not leaving her." And she ran up to Lily, and then they both left. Both sides of the family just yelled out, "You are disowned!" And both sides of families was furious. They were really upset about this. But then they had one other problem. Since now they had been kicked out and disowned by their families, they could just go home. But luckily, a friend of theirs, Adam, who were in fact Jay's best friend, heard this. And since Jay's family had just kicked her out or disowned her, and since Adam's family also had accepted this same gender relationship between Jade and Lily a long time ago, So Adam told his families, his parents about this. They were horrified that, but they knew exactly that Jade's family wouldn't even accept this. So they decided to let them stay with them for a while, and which both Jade and Lily was gratitude. But they said themselves they couldn't stay for long term because they didn't even have money if they had to pay for the rent or anything. So they decided to only stay for a short while. And that same evening, Jade made a much difficult choice. She called her older brother, Derek, who lived in a different state, just only one state away from them. When he picked up, he was always cheerful as always. Hey! Hey, Jade! What's up? But then, when he heard her crying and he immediately went from cheerful to worry and concern. Whoa, 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 whoa! Jade, what, what's wrong? What happened? Tell me. At first, he couldn't even get any words out because she was crying so much she couldn't even get even a full sentence out. And then he just like snapped at her just for a moment. Jade, snap out of it. Tell me what's wrong. That made her stop crying as much as. But then she said like, Derek, Mom and Dad just kicked me out of the house. What? Yeah, Lily's too. Wait, what are you saying right now, though? Um, at my best friend Adam. Oh, the guy who lived next door to us. Yeah, that's a good thing. Wait, is this my place? Oh boy, I'm not surprised if our parents are even more furious than they knowing for the fact you're staying there. If they do, I don't even care anymore. All right, you know what? I will be I'll be coming up there tomorrow. But no buts. You're my sister, and you know how much I care about you. So no buts. So he did leave that same evening, and he even drove most of the night, and he even arrived early noon the next day. He arrived in a big car, which was his own personal car, and a small trailer. When Jade walked out, she was stunned to see this trailer, even asked, why did you bring this trailer with you? Isn't it obvious to bring some of your own stuff with you? So, Derek went over to their home, knocked on the door, and even though he wasn't disowned by family, but he asked his parents for the permission so that Jade could enter the house. His parents were almost angry, so that they like almost he was asking them to accept her life, but he said no. So only that she could get her belongings. Since you won't even allow her to stay here, so at least allow her to get some more belongings and she will be gone. Fair enough? Both her parents looked at each other and thought, fair enough, so he allowed that. So both Jade, Lily, and Derek went in the house and they went to her room, picked some of Jade's childhood items, some money that she had saved, clothes, and some other big items. They even went to the attics to find some other old things that she might have wanted to have. Some childhood toys, something like that, so that she really dared but care much. And after that, they left the house without saying anything. And even her parents didn't even say anything to Lily or Jade. But Derek, he stood by the door for only a moment to talk to the parents. They told him that they're so disappointed at him that he actually had accepted this. Because to them it was clear that he cared about his sister and even had accepted what she did, or the way that she had chosen. But he told them, you know what? I don't even care. She's my sister. And how can you even just kick out your only daughter because what she chooses to be with? You probably would have done the same thing if I had chosen to be with a guy. And you calling yourself parents? I don't even see you as my family anymore. The only family I have now is my sister. So thank you for all these years for you raising me, but that's it. And then he left. They actually went over to Lily's home. Her family was the same, but they allowed her to pack her things and they left. After they driving away from the both houses, Jade and Lily were now having one big problem. They were basically homeless. Practically homeless since neither of their families even cared anything about them anymore. But Derek said, you're worried about your home? Not really. What do you mean? Said Jade while driving away from the town. You will stay with my place. But don't worry, I have enough space for all of both of you. So don't worry. When they actually arrived to Derek's home, it was a pretty much big house. Had a basement and had a converted attic to another floor of rooms. So they have at least a room for themselves. And now Jade and Lily was happy to be away from all this. But they were not facing the self because they have no idea what the future will even bring them now. Their future was pretty much uncertain. But during the next 3 years, Jade and Lily found their own jobs and eventually managed to buy their own small house together and moved out. And during this time also, Jade proposed to Lily, and she said yes. It was just amazing time. Derek was the one who walked Jade down the aisle. Only Jade's and Lily's paternal and maternal grandparents and a few friends was invited. They didn't invite their own parents since they hadn't even talked to them in 3 years. Another thing is, neither Lily or Jade didn't even care about their former parents anymore. Because they were at least grateful they raised them. But how to be treating them near the end to make the biggest choice to leave their partner that they loved the most, or simply be disowned. It was just a great choice, but they choose to be with each other. Even their own maternal and paternal grandparents, even Lily's and Jade's maternal and paternal grandparents were so furious at their own parents. So basically, Jade's maternal and paternal grandparents disowned their own children, meaning her parents. And the same thing as for Lily's family. Because both sides of families' grandparents was actually very supportive to their choice to be with someone of the same gender. But despite what they had been going through, Jade and Lily were still strong and happy. And getting married to one that they loved the most, it was the best thing to do. They went through so much hardships. Because during these 3 years, they had to work hard enough to be able to save up enough money to buy their own small house, and even to save up enough money for even to have their own wedding. But they didn't even have to, because Derek and both Jade's and Lily's paternal and maternal grandparents pinched in with the money. And that made them really much grateful for. And after they'd been married for a while, Jade and Lily wanted to start a family. So Jade actually reached out to her best friend Adam if he was willing to help them, and sure enough, he was much willing to do so. He chose to be the donor. Jade decided to get pregnant first, and she did. They actually even had a daughter which they named Ella. And about 3 years later, Lily had a son, which they named Jason. And even this time, also Adam was the donor. But they were just happy to be parents now. And even though that their parents had found out about that Jade and Lily had children of their own, they even tried to reach out to them so that they could meet up their grandchildren. But neither Jade or Lily would even allow it. In fact, they refused because how know that they know knowing for a fact they have grandchildren and they will be willing to talk to be with just so that they can see their grandchildren. But after how Lily and Jade was treated all those years ago, sure they couldn't accept it and to move on because Lily I'm not sure if I will willing to let my former parents to even to meet our children. Same here. I mean, after they treated us back then, why would it be? I mean, they only like to want to see their grandchildren because, I mean, they even calling them their grandchildren. But how could they do that? Didn't they disown us back then? Yeah, you're right, they did. So why would they call them grandchildren? So even when Jay's mom reached out to her about this, at first she even said, "Why did you call them your grandchildren when you disown me? It doesn't make sense." So she was like, "I'm refusing you to even to see them because you're not my family and you're a complete stranger. So why would I allow a stranger to meet my children? So no." And she blocked her mom's Facebook account and all other social media and the number. Same thing as for her dad. And Lily had the same thing happen to her. But she refused. The only ones that allowed to see Ella and Jason were the grandparents and, of course, Derek. And also about to mention it, that during this time, Derek also had got married and even had a son of his own. And Ella and Jason were in fact aware, if at one point, that Adam, who would also have moved to the same town to be closer to his best friend Jade, that he were in fact their father. And since Lily and Jade had asked him to be for helping with this all this time, they actually included him in the family as the children's father. But the children knew he was eventually aware that he was only like helping their mothers to have a family, but they still saw him as the father. And even after what they went through all those years ago, back in high school, they had to keep the secret so much guarded. But after they finally found out about they've been dating for a few years and how they were furious, how they disowned their only daughters in order because they didn't want to give up to break up so that they could find someone else. And even despite a few years later, when both sides of families tried to reach out so that they could spend time with their grandchildren, but how would they even call that grandchildren when they disown their own daughters, which makes no sense to both Jade and Lily? But they refused to even to let them to see them. Jade could not have more happier to be with Lily. And for Lily, same thing. She really was happy to be with Jade. After all this, their love for each other grew stronger and stronger for each day that passed from both. And this is how Lily and Jade found their true love, got a big family together. The end.